All right. So I sort of warned you earlier this week, but here it is. Test 1 is coming on Tuesday. Okay, so today we're just going to talk about test 1, what to expect, and hopefully you'll feel a little bit better. Right? We'll go from to cool. So hopefully. All right, so a couple of things, right? So we're gonna do test 1. What I've decided to do is for this one, I am not going to watch you do the test. So typically what we have is we get you to set up, some, and I'm sure you've got other classes, so I'm sure you've had to do it where you have to have some secondary device that shows your workspace. I've decided that for this test, I'm going to try it without. And so you don't need to do that because everyone's going to have different numbers anyways. So it doesn't really matter. Hopefully. Okay. I do want to warn you that I might have to switch to doing that later. So just be aware of that, and hopefully you appreciate not being stressed out by me watching you. I'm usually doing something else during the test, right? So you can kind of be in your own zone and kind of just focus on the test. Okay, so the test will be open during our class time. From 8 to 9:20 on Tuesday, October 19th. Doesn't hurt to emphasize that, make that look like an 8, right? So it's an hour and 20 minutes. Okay. 1 hour and 20 minutes. That's our class time, right? Usually what I do is I aim to have a test that should take about an hour, and then you have a little bit of wiggle room to focus on some of the harder questions that you're kind of struggling with maybe. Okay, and so usually I do it around an hour-long test, right, in terms of length. Okay, so that gives you about 20 minutes just to, and you're still gonna feel like you're short on time. So you will wanna move quickly. Okay, so 1 hour-long test, but I can guarantee you this is always what happens. Is that you're always going to feel short on time. So you're going to want to move quickly through all the questions. Just do the ones that you know how to do. Of course, you all know how to write tests, but doesn't hurt to hear it again, right? Read through all the questions, do the ones that you know how to do, and don't, spend time on the ones that you don't. Come back to those when you know you've secured all the marks that you can. Okay. And so, move quickly through the test because you will feel short on time still. Okay. Because you will feel short on time. Okay. So it's going to be, I'm still kind of deciding 25 to 30 questions. Okay. But it kind of depends on, I'm still kind of solidifying the last few because I don't want to go too hard on the stuff that we just finished, like the binomial, for example. So I'm just kind of fiddling around with that, but roughly 25 to 30 questions. multiple choice, but also fill in the blank. Okay. And fill in the blank. Calculations. Okay. Oh, question, yeah.
Hi, Emily.
Hey.
I just have a question. Like, so as you said, it's gonna be MCQ, so it's gonna be similar to the assignments.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. How many chaps? Do you mean chapters? It's going to be everything that we've covered so far. Okay, so it's going to be from chapters 1 through 4. Chapters 1 through 4, right? Up to the end of last day. We're not going to cover anything new today. So yeah. Okay, so it's going to be very similar to the assignments. Now, I don't want you to freak out because a lot of those hard questions I give you on the assignment, but then what I want you to remember is that usually if I put a hard question on a test, you'll have seen it on an assignment already. It's just going to be different question or different numbers, right? And so if I ask you a hard question, it will have been from the assignment, okay? And so for that reason, I encourage you to do the assignment. So you've got a lot of assignments to do tonight. Yeah, question.
Yeah, so like for MCQ, do we need to show the calculations as well?
No. So for this one, there's not a lot of work that I need to see. So for this one, you're not going to submit anything. It's just going to be the Moodle test.
Okay, and they're going to be only like a one try, like because it's exam.
So say that again, sorry. Here.
Like we're going to have only one try, like because in assignments, it's like a 9 try to each question.
Yeah, only one try.
Okay.
Harder. But yeah, so yeah, and it won't tell you if it's right or wrong, right? Because it's a test. So it'll be very similar. Questions will be very similar to the assignments. And I just posted another assignment, assignment 5. And I tried to get assignment 6 up, but I'm going to have to fix it after class here. But there will be an assignment 6 on the binomial and the last part of chapter 4. Okay, and so assignments 1 through assignment 4 are due tonight. All right. So you've got a lot of assignments there, and that's going to be the majority of the questions. I can extend them, sure. I can extend them until Monday night if you want. Doesn't matter to me. How about that? Monday night. Nice. What I usually do then is I do for anyone who has done the test, the assignments already for the original due date, I do give them, you know, a little bonus mark or something like that, just so that they don't feel like, oh, I spent all that time on that and now everyone else has an extension. What the heck? Because I know what that feels like as a student. you spend all this time and you work on it to get it done by the due date, and then it gets extended. What the heck? So I'll go through. If you've done it by the original due date, you'll have a little bonus mark there. So, okay, but I'll extend them to Monday night. Okay, assignment 5 and assignment 6, which was really misbehaving this morning when I tried to get it posted. So I'm gonna have to tame it down, and those will be due. They'll be due next Friday, October 22nd. Okay, due Friday, October 22nd. Okay, but they would be good practice, right? Especially if you've seen them a few times, just had a look through them, tried them, see how it goes, right? Assignment 5 is the normal distribution, and assignment 6 will be mostly the binomial. It's going to be very short, okay? So it's going to be on the binomial and the Poisson and the geometric distribution, okay? So here, this is the normal distribution, and this is going to be the binomial, geometric, but mostly the binomial, okay? Poisson distributions, okay? And so, but it was giving me grief, like I said, so I'll make that available this afternoon or this morning. Forgot what class I'm in. Okay, so those are going to be due next Friday, so you have a week to work on them, but this is stuff that's on the test, right? Not going to be emphasized. It's not going to be really heavy on this test, okay? And so this stuff is, will be on the test, but the emphasis will be on assignments 1 through 4. But the emphasis will be on assignment 1 to assignment 4, okay? So if we have, let's say, 25 questions, I'd say 20 of those are going to be from assignment 1 to assignment 4, and then 5 of those would be from assignment 5 and assignment 6. Okay, so for example, if there are 25 questions, 20 would be from assignment 1 to assignment 4, and 5 would be from assignment 5 and assignment 6. Okay, so that would be the distribution. Yeah. So yeah, if you're handling the assignments, if you're doing the assignments and they're going well and you're feeling good, then the test should be top notch. Okay. What's hard about a test is you have a limited amount of time, right? And you're working open book, so you're allowed to have all your resources, but you shouldn't be Googling answers or anything. And in fact, it's going to be really hard because all the numbers are all different, right? And so that's not going to help you really. But assignment questions are always a lot harder. There's some easy questions in the assignments, but in general, assignment questions are harder than test questions, right? And so if you can handle the assignments, then you should be able to handle the test questions. Test questions are only hard because you haven't seen them before, right? And so in general, test questions will be easier than assignment questions. Okay. if I decide to include a hard question from an assignment, it'll be that question. So you will at least be familiar with how to solve it, and then you just have to reproduce it. Okay, so any hard questions? Any hard questions on the test will be from the assignment. Will be from the assignment. Okay, or from an assignment, I should say. So you will have seen it in the past. Okay. Those easier questions, no, they're not going to be from the assignment, but you'll be able to handle them if you felt okay going through those assignments. Okay. And so the assignments and the class notes and, you know, everything that we talked about in class, that's going to be all good resources, right? So to study, review our class notes. I'm not really big on going beyond the class notes. There might be some things that I just mentioned briefly, right? That's kind of mean. But usually what I do is I focus on, you know, the big core concepts, right? And so reviewing our class notes is going to be really good. Make sure that you understand kind of the ins and outs of everything that we said. Easier said than done, right? So review our class notes and go through all the assignments, right? Master, wow. Master the assignments. Okay. Those would be my kind of my my hints to help you study, right? Because sometimes it's hard to know what you should focus on, right? But in general, I'm not out to get you. I want everyone to get a good grade here. And so I'm not going to put, you know, really, really hard, weird questions on there, but I will put some hard questions on there just because I just want to see where everyone's at, right? And that's, you know, I think fair. And so if there's ever anything in the class notes that you're unsure about, then of course you can refer to the textbook. The textbook goes through and talks about some of these concepts in a different way, right? In a slightly different way that might help you solidify it, okay? And also they have a ton more examples, right? There's question problems or there's questions at the end of each chapter, each section, I think even, right? And so you can work through those. And then so if you need more examples or a different explanation, oops, see the textbook. So of course I post our videos from class on YouTube, so you can watch those again. But if something's missing, then there are also videos from the textbook, right? So the textbook videos from the authors of the textbook are also available. It used to be that you could just click the little video button from from that PDF, but I think they changed it. I think I don't remember. So here, if let's skip to chapter 5. So here at the beginning of each chapter, they have these little kind of videos and slides and other resources. And so if I open this, let's see, then where can I go? Where are these videos? Books. Here. So it took a little bit of clicking, but you have to go to books and then statistics and then open intro statistics. And then it takes you to this page. And then you have the videos up top here. Videos. And chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. So it looks like they only have up to the normal approximation to the binomial. That seems pretty fair. That's about, our emphasis as well. Okay. So you have those videos as well, if you want them. Too many videos, though, in my opinion. I find videos take so long, and I know maybe I'm weird, but I actually prefer to read, and that might be weird, but I don't know. I feel like I can read faster than I can watch a video. Even if you watch it in double time, then it just, no, thank you. Yeah, although I usually speed it up to, I can handle about 1.5 speed. Not quite double time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can, if you're reading, you can kind of decide what you want to read and not. I guess in order to decide if you want to read it, you've already read it sort of in your mind. And I think that's the beauty of it. But anyways, so I prefer reading than watching videos, but I know a lot of people prefer videos over reading. Maybe we do a combo. Okay, so either way, you've got options, right? So you could read the textbook, you could watch the textbook videos if you want to solidify some of these concepts, right? Especially, so usually probability, if we're looking at that probability 2 assignment, right? So kind of the second part of probability, so conditional probabilities, for example, those are really tricky, right? And so it helps to see more of those questions, even than I've given you in the assignment, right? So it's going to help to see more. Okay, good. All right, so let's see here. What else did I want to say? I guess I should have put this at the top. I don't think I did, though, that I won't be watching you. However, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it in pink down below so that you can refer to it. Sorry, this should have been at the top, but you do not need to be in our Zoom room for the test. Okay, so it's open book, but you shouldn't be Googling any answers. And of course that's tempting, but don't do it. And so you don't need to be in our Zoom room for the test, but I will be here if you have a question. Okay, so if you come across something, then do not email me, do not text me or anything, because I'm going to be here in this room. Okay, And so depending on, your style, sometimes people just come into the room and they just have me available all the time. And so if there's something that I need to announce for the test, it'll be in here, right? So for that reason, it might be a good idea to just be here, right? But you don't have to be, okay? You don't need to be in the Zoom room for the test, but I will be here if you have any questions. Okay. No, we kind of skipped Bayes' theorem. We did so for Bayes' theorem is just conditional probabilities, right? And so we could easily make that extension, but I didn't take us there. No. But we did talk about it. We just never called it Bayes' theorem. But you could check it out if you're interested, but you can also convince yourself that we did it. Because whenever you're using a tree diagram with conditional probabilities in the second branch of the tree, you are using Bayes' theorem. We just never called it that. Okay. Okay, so you don't need to be in the Zoom room for the test, but I will be here if you have any questions, right? And so any announcements that I need to make during the test. So if there's a question that's not working for whatever reason, I test the questions, right? I make sure that, so typically I aim for a test that takes me about 15 minutes to write. And so I do a lot of testing before I give you a test. So usually it's not a problem. But if there is something that I need to announce, then it would be in here. Okay, so any announcement that I need to make during the test will be made in the Zoom room. All right, so if you're not here, you don't hear that, but then you would probably be coming here anyways to ask me what's going on. So it works out, and usually there's nothing. Okay, and so you do not need to have your camera on, and you do not need to submit any work. So for this test only, because later we will be doing more work where it's important that I check your written work. So for this one, we're covering a lot of ground, right? We talked about what are variables, how do we classify variables, and then how do we summarize, how do we visualize these different types of variables, how do we identify outliers? Hey, maybe I should write this down, right? And so here from chapter 1, and this is not an exhaustive list, right? It's just kind of the key ideas, right? We talked about classifying variables. We talked about sampling techniques. Right? Some of the things that we can do to eliminate bias or minimize bias, right? So sampling techniques. And then we went into chapter 2. How do we summarize variables? Summarize variables. How do we visualize variables? Visualize variables, right? And that depends. Do I have a numerical variable or a categorical variable, right? And so all of that kind of hinges on being able to classify variables, right? So summarize variables, visualize variables, find outliers or identify outliers. Then in chapter 3, we talked about, okay, so now we're talking about probability. We had the probability of A or B is the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. We had the probability of, the probability of A given B is the probability of A and B divided by the probability of B. Right? So some of those, and then there were a lot of things in behind the scenes there, right? What does it mean to be disjoint? It means that there's no shared probability. So the probability of A and B is 0, right? What does it mean to be independent, right? If two events are independent, then we should be able to show that the probability of A and B is the probability of A times the probability of B, right? And so we talked about things being disjoint, independent, right? So might want to review some of that stuff, okay? And there were some really tricky questions on the assignments, right? And so the voting one, that one's kind of tricky. Which other one? The HIV one is tricky as well. But I think you'll find that a tree diagram is really going to help you, okay? And then from chapter 4, and maybe I should put the tree diagram here. Tree diagram. From chapter 4, we talked about the normal distribution. There were some properties of the normal distribution that we're going to need to have a really good handle on, right? So the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, how do I use a Z table, right? And things like that. And so the normal distribution, Z scores, Z table, Z table, 68, 95, 99.7 rule. It's technically a percent, okay? You should only use this rule if it says so, right? So only use this rule. Only use this rule if the question says to use it. If it doesn't say to use it, then you should be using the Z table. Okay, so even if you know how to use something like Excel or whatever, or for example, right, the questions assume that you're using the Z table, so it might mark you wrong. Now, one thing that I will say is always after a test, so a Moodle test or whatever, that I'm not marking myself necessarily, I still go through all your answers and just make sure that you didn't lose any marks for something that's just so ever so slightly off. So if you round incorrectly on this first one, then I'll bump up your marks so that you don't lose any marks unnecessarily. Okay, so I do that, but just make sure that you use the Z table, because that's one of the main reasons people lose marks on these things. What else did we talk about? Z-scores, the Z-table, just the empirical rule. I think that's probably pretty good. Okay. And then we talked about the binomial, right? The binomial distribution says that we can find the probability that x equals k by n choose k, p to the k, 1 minus p to the n minus k. Okay, so this is the formula that I'm expecting you to be able to use, right, to find those probabilities. So this one I will ask you about, right, to apply. And then we talked about the geometric, I think we talked about the negative binomial. It like never comes up, but I'll put it on here just in case. Negative binomial and the Poisson. For these, I will say, be able to read a question and determine which one of these would apply, right? And so should be able to read a question and determine which of these distributions apply. And determine which of these distributions apply. So I'm not asking you to do any calculations for those, but I would give you a question and then it would be multiple choice saying, okay, which one applies here, right? So that's as far as I'm willing to go on these ones, right? And so I will focus from chapter 4. I'm going to focus on the normal distribution for sure. And then 1 or 2 from the binomial and the others, okay? Okay, good. What else did I want to tell you guys? Any questions? Anything I didn't address? Oh yeah, so fill in the blank questions, just like the assignments, right? And so fill in the blank questions. You're gonna have to do some calculation, you know, somewhere on the side. And for test 2, I'm gonna wanna see that work. So then you would scan and upload it, but I'm not gonna do that for this test. In fact, I should write that down. For this test, you do not need to submit any work. Any of your written work. Okay. But you will have to do it for test 2, because for test 2, then I need to see that you have all the pieces working. Okay, and so a lot of that can't be done in a fill in the blank situation. So you do not need to submit any of your written work, but you will have to for test 2, just so that's not a surprise later on. Okay, so fill in the blanks exactly like the assignment questions, except you only have 1 try and it's not going to tell you if it's right or wrong. Okay, and so fill in the blank questions. Is going to be do the calculation and enter your answer. Yeah, but it's not going to tell you you have 1 attempt. So you don't get to resubmit and try it just like the assignment, right? I use the assignments to kind of build you up to the level where we should be at, but now on a test, you only have one try, just like you normally would on a test. And it won't tell you, it won't say if it's right or wrong. I guess until the end. Once you've submitted, it'll tell you, but it won't say if it's right or wrong. Until the end. Okay, so just imagine you only have one shot at the assignment, and that's basically what it is. Does that answer the fill in the blank question? Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, any other questions you want me to clear up? No. Okay. We've got a little bit of time left. I've said all I needed to say. So I think so. We're going to have 2 tests and a final exam. Oh yeah, and assignment 6, I need to tame that beast before so it should take me hopefully less than an hour. So it'll be up definitely before noon. I promise. Yeah, it was just not working for a little bit. So I just want to fix it before I post it. But so it'll be available. And well, we don't have a midterm exam. We're just going to do 2 tests. So this one on Tuesday, and then after, well, they changed all the chapters. So usually after hypothesis testing and confidence intervals have been covered, then I do another test. Nice. Okay. Yeah, any other questions? I'll stop this recording because I've said everything I need to say, but I'll stick around if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, if you have a question, you can text me or you can email me this weekend. And yeah, otherwise, good luck studying. And I might see you here on Tuesday, unless you want to just, oh yeah, so if you go back and you try, so you can, it won't let you submit during. So as long as you don't submit your entire test, you can go back and correct answers. Does that make sense? Nice. Yeah, so you're not submitting each individual one. It'll just be like, okay, are you ready to submit this? Yes or no. And then, so yeah, you can go back and correct answers. Oh yeah, you can skip questions. You can come back to them. And yeah, awesome. Okay, good luck studying. I'm here if you need me. And all right, have a good weekend. Stop this.